Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With APRO, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. Hello and welcome, everyone. Here at the RTO Show, we're proud to have APRO as our premier podcast sponsor. APRO's always had its finger on the pulse of America's rent-to-own industry, including up-to-the-minute news and information, fun and valuable events, and even its legal hotline. APRO knows what's going on in the rental industry and how to help you navigate it. Don't miss APRO's Best of RTO World webinar coming up on Tuesday, October 10th. Learn more and register today at rtohq.org. That's rtohq.org. And now to the show. Welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Shao. Today, we're talking about how everything went down in San Antonio, RTO World 2023. Hello, San Antonio, with Charles Smitherman, CEO, APRO. This was your first battle in charge, right? Your first RTO World 2023. How's everything going, Charles?
Yeah, we're just trying to come down from and recover from what was a great week out there. This was the first time I had been on the APRO side of it and haven't been a vendor or on the vendor side of it for a few years. And yeah, I think we had just an absolute great week and doing a lot of the post-show
cleanup
matters at this point. Cleanup, that's it. And then really on to starting planning for next year.
So I'm glad you said that. So you've seen it from the vendor side. Now you've seen it from the APRO side. How different are those two for the same event? Is it like, opposite sides of the same coin where it's completely different? Or are you looking, is it apples and oranges and oranges?
I think just the experience of being there and just being around all the really incredible, unique people that make up the RTO industry, that's the same. Just getting to be out there and be a part of it, reconnecting, speaking about things that are going on, that's the same. I would say the big difference is, just seeing how much goes into the planning and just the choreographing of just the entire week and event. I've just got such an awesome team at APRO that really is just a professional group of individuals that really were able to put this together and have it go off as smoothly as it did. Whenever the major complaints are that it's too cold in the trade show hall. Now, I'll take that any day over it being too hot.
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you, outside it was scorching heat. Going over some of the day's events. So Sunday, of course, is not an official APRO convention day, but Sunday was the day we actually had golfing at the San Antonio golf outing at Almost Basin Golf Course. And to tell you the truth, I don't think anybody enjoyed that more than Kevin Silvers. He loves to take pictures and he does it outings extremely well. But were you able to participate in that?
Yeah, so I was there. I had a 2:00 tee time in the middle of August in San Antonio. Was totally an experience. It was, it was hot, but it was just such a great day. Really great group to play with, and just kind of seeing everyone out there. And I know Kevin had a good day because he was playing in the group behind us, and I kept seeing the drives that they were hitting in, coming up on our second or third shots around the green, and so I know they had a good time out there as well.
And here I thought your tan was a beach tan, and now you're telling me it's a San Antonio golfer's tan. That's what it is. So everybody goes out, we have a good time. We get the golfing out of the way, see some great pictures. If you guys want to see some pictures, go online, especially where you can see, you can go to the APRO page, you can go to the Trib page, you can go to Kevin Silver's page. He does great job taking some awesome pictures of everything. And then Monday's like a registration day, depending on when you come in, right? So, you come in, you kind of look around town if you have a little bit of time. The guys and myself, we come in, the CPL ranking group came in a little bit early on Monday because that was the best flight to catch straight through. We actually saw the Tower of the Americas. I don't know if you saw that. That was right outside the convention hall, which is like 750 feet in the air. So you can go up there and kind of see the entirety of San Antonio. We did the Rio boat tour, which was really awesome because the Rio, I don't know if it's called the Rio River or the Rio Grande River because they kept on calling it the Rio, but it kind of cuts right there by the hotel, right through all the activity. And you can see all the bars and just the get-togethers. It was actually such a really good time. And then we went to Alamo. And did you get to go to Alamo? Because I know that I know the guys did.
Yeah, I mean, I took a chance to walk through. I mean, it would have been right there. And yeah, I mean, what a cool spot. They've done a lot of good work to make that accessible and really a good experience to do that.
I think that it was a good bit of history to take in every time that we talk about going back and seeing something. It's really nice to be standing where things happened and just be a part of it as much as we can. But now to the nitty gritty, here comes Tuesday. Tuesday is when all the fun festivities happen. Now we're talking about fun festivities. April had a whole litany of things that were going on, starting with the Trib group meetings in the mornings and the April government meetings. But at 10:45, we had the peer group meetups, and there were quite a few of them. Actually, I've seen 10 different peer group meetups. What's the idea behind the peer group meetups, and why is this different than when somebody's speaking in the later half of the day?
Well, one of the main purposes of having the convention is really bringing people in, allowing, not only the networking aspect, but really just an ability to kind of sit around, share ideas, what's working, what's not. And we've, found this peer group up meetings where we can really organize this based upon, store size, owners, managers, staff, kind of break these out into groups where the people are having the same type of issues, problems, things that are working, things that aren't. It really just provides that really nice space to have those conversations, and it really just a good opportunity to do that.
So Paul Mativier and myself were able to do a peer meetup. We facilitated a group meetup of 15 and plus stores. We had a room full of people. We were able to get some good engagement. But you know what I saw in the background was actually somebody taking pictures. Are we going to see those pictures pop up of all the peer meetups and all the speeches and everything that happened in RTO World?
So we had our photographer was absolutely great. Ashley works with us about every year, so she knows where to be. We actually just got the file shared with us on Tuesday of this week, and so we're combing through the few thousand photos that she took over the course of the 3 days there. So yeah, those will be coming out. We'll be sharing those and getting those out for people to see very soon.
I know quite a few people who would be very, very interested in to see exactly what's going on behind the veils of the RTO world, those who couldn't make it. And just, it's so great to see when, you have a lot of people interacting and you see the intent look on some people's faces when they're actually learning something or they're discussing something that they know best and people get to learn from them, and that exchange and knowledge of information. It's something to behold. And I'm glad that you guys were able to capture that and see that. Now, going through the feedbacks, how soon are the feedbacks going to be available where you can see how well people took it or the ideas that they had of maybe some good changes that they can do?
So we had, I'll just give credit to our data and program specialist, Eddie Flores. He had those post-convention surveys ready to go. They were sent out Thursday afternoon as people were leaving San Antonio, and the surveys were up. We closed those out last Friday, and he's been spending the majority of this week going through and organizing that data. I'm actually expecting an email anytime this afternoon to see kind of the final report and what that looks like. I've gotten pieces here and there of a lot of the feedback, and it's been pretty overwhelmingly positive from what I've seen so far. But that'll be something we will be kind of organizing and then sharing pretty soon as we kind of do a recap of that to share with the members and the dealers and everyone that came. And then we'll use it as a learning tool for what went right and what went wrong and what we can do to get better and to make this next year even better than this year.
I think I'm just going to tell you, Paul Mativier had a couple ideas. I know that he probably shared that. He said that he sent some ideas in. So be on the lookout for his. You might have a paragraph or two. Some good ideas I think he had in there, but we talked about it for a little bit. So we'll talk about that later. So that's 10:45 to 11:45. Then it starts 12. We're at lunch, right? Big convention hall. Like Charles said, it's cold in there, but I'll take cold over 100-degree, San Antonio heat any day. We're sitting down, and then steps up. The first round is Joseph Kopser. Now, if anybody knows who Joseph is, you know that this guy knows his business. For anybody who doesn't, we're talking about a 20-year veteran from the military. He has worked under the government for different contracts. He has met, I believe, what I counted was 3 presidents, and it could be 2 presidents, but I know he's met at least 2, almost 3. He actually ran for Congress. So I don't know if you know that. So he's a very busy guy, gives a great speech. And then at the end of that, he mentioned the RTO show. Imagine that. that was completely unknown to me. I don't want anybody to think that was scheduled or I kind of slipped him a 20. It didn't happen, but I was so shocked that he added that in there. I was really appreciative to know that somebody was really paying attention to it. And I think he kind of just spread the word to everybody who was sitting there and taking it all in. So I really appreciate that. But then after lunch, 1:45 comes the speaking, right? When you have individual classes talking about different individual things. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Charles, is how does APRO determine who's going to be speaking in those time slots and what makes a good subject to talk about?
Well, we try to, have an idea of and do this on a track basis. So we've got the legal track, the sales track, the kind of things that would be specific to you're coming to this room and it's going to be this. If you're a manager, you probably want to be on this track. If you're an owner, you may want to look at this track. So we kind of try to divide them up into kind of subject matter categories. We open up typically early in the year. I want to say maybe January or February. We kind of put out a call for presentations. One thing that we had this year, we had a pretty overwhelming response to that, where that the really kind of in order to really share the wealth with and allow the participation and to have the multiple points of view with these presentations, we did a lot of panel discussions this year where I did a panel. There were 5 of us on the cybersecurity and privacy panel. Some others had 3 or 4. It was just a good way to have kind of a dialogue, a chat kind of presentation with a lot of these, and to really have a lot of people involved. And so the subject matters just really range from a lot of what really current issues. Cybersecurity is one of those that I had put in before I got the CEO job, really just because it is a constant issue for any business, and particularly for smaller businesses that face this kind of issue on a daily basis. And then other things with just kind of the newer technology pieces that the collections that Paidit sponsored in terms of sales growth. It's really just a way where we get a lot of the industry experts in these sessions that are able to really share their knowledge with everyone. And that's really one of the core purposes and benefits that the convention is supposed to bring. And so it's a really, really significant part of the schedule.
Well, I got to say, I do appreciate the fact that I was given the opportunity to speak, because I'm telling you, we cherish all those moments that we have. And also, I want to ask, how do you believe, or what do you believe transpired that caused APRO to get an overwhelming amount of new, or I should say, people who are interested in sharing their ideas or what subjects they want to talk about versus maybe different, other times, other APRO events?
I think it's just as we continue to kind of develop this, really the tracks, I think that in of itself encourages participation. Really, I think we did it, and we'll continue to try to improve the marketing on that, of trying to get the word out as to hey, look, if you've got an idea, if there's something important, and I think really just the facilitating that really encourages, you've got an idea. Sometimes we'll see presentations like at a state association and we'll say, hey, look, this, encourage people to put in to do that. And so, that's one thing that really kind of getting just that messaging and sharing that knowledge. That's really what at the core, what APRO and what the association is about, is that bringing together people, bringing together ideas, bringing together best practices. And this is really, to me, one of in terms of what we do at the convention, really significant and important part of it, because we're able to bring so much into that afternoon with those educational sessions.
I so agree. Now, I did see on the main listing of what happened during the day and everything that's going on, the APRO Government Relations Committee. Now, I know on the last podcast we had talked about how important of a role that APRO played in legislation and watching the legislation and making sure that it stays RTO friendly. What exactly is the APRO Government Relations Committee?
So that is, that's really one of our it's a very important committee that we have. We've got four attorneys, including myself, that sit on that committee. This is where we really look at kind of that core mission, protecting the industry, how we're monitoring laws, legislation, regulation, how it's affecting the industry. We look at, part of that is we're doing planning for the legislative conference. We do planning for the APRO PAC, where we raise funds and then distribute those out, particularly during the election cycles like the one coming up next year. And really just trying to organize and to provide that center of knowledge for our grassroots organizations, with our state associations, with lobbyists that they're employed on that level, really to kind of have those eyes on the ground, the boots on the ground. So if something happens, if a bad piece of legislation ever were to come forward or in the form of a bill, we would be ready to go in to present our side of the story on it, and to really to kind of protect the industry from that level, because it really is if something happens in one state, that's the way most laws they spread. It's like a contagion. Someone sees it and then someone picks it up, and these things can spread. So something could start innocuously in one state. An RTO piece of legislation gets amended or gets redrafted or gets changed in some way that's not good or positive for the industry, and that gets picked up by someone else. And then next thing you know, we've got kind of a national wildfire going on with these things that affect everyone. And so that committee itself, we've got just some great minds, great legal minds on that committee. We've got a lot of experience with guys like Larry Carrico that have been there, been involved, been really active on the legislative side, and that really kind of been able to help organize. That is really part of our core mission with APRO. So that's a very important committee, and that's why it's front and center when we meet at APRO, and we meet throughout the year at LegCon and at the board meeting we've got coming up in October. That committee and the work we do really forms a really pillar of what APRO is all about.
So while we're learning, APRO's behind the scenes making sure that everything is good, checks and balances, checking under the hood, making sure everything's running correct.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Chow here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing, and let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and Trib? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too.
That's exactly it.
All right. So then after all the meetings and all the official hubbub, right, and you got to understand what a meeting is like. So every speaker, every hour, starting at 1:45 to 2:35, and then you got 2:45 to 3:35, and then 3:45 to 4:35. So every hour there are 5 different speakers going over 5 different subjects that people can choose to go to. So if they want to sit on this gentleman in the first hour, they can sit in with this young lady in the second hour, and then possibly change it up for the third hour. It's something that you're not committed to, but you do have the ability to go back and forth and really kind of get an idea of what these people bring. And maybe you have knowledge in a certain area, so you don't need to listen to one person. You go somewhere where you're lacking a little bit of knowledge, or maybe you want to brush up on some skills. That's how it works. Anything from culture resets for magic to standing out above the crowd in the first one. You got cybersecurity. Second hour, there was some good things on like online sales, merchandising tips and tricks. Third hour also had, what can go wrong, the Jeffrey story. I actually was talking to Jason Winters. Unbelievable story. If you guys haven't heard that, you've got to hear the Jeffed Up story. And then Sales 2.0 with Chris Cale Jr. I mean, those are just some of the touch points, not all of them, but it was, it's the idea that we're talking and somebody's listening. And there's so many intent people on learning this rent-to-own business and the industry. And the ones that have been in it a long time want to share their knowledge. It's a great way to do that. So then after everything's said and done and all the speaks are over, everybody's kind of learned a little bit. Then we go to Sold with Lynn Leach at the Hot Show, where all of these great deals start popping up. And these are the deals are what the vendors put together for APRO's Hot Show. They say, listen, we're going to discount it, or we're going to give it the best deal possible with the most amount of product to back that up. So let's say we have a sofa, we discount it to a certain rate. That is a very, very good deal. And we're going to put as many pieces of inventory behind it as possible. Then you go. Is there a certain selection that you use for items to get to the Hot Show?
Well, so the Trib group takes the lead on this part of the show, and they Dennis and his team do just a great job. And I want to say, I think I spoke to Dennis. He said they had 187 submissions for the Hot Show this year, and I think that's almost pretty normal.
Wow.
Trib's got a committee that I think they've got just a matrix of, okay, well, we got 40 slots and we can't have 20 mattresses or 10 PlayStations. I mean, they've got a matrix that sets out kind of what the ideal composition of that is. But yeah, I mean, there's a huge interest in that, and Trib and Dennis and that group and their committee does a good job of narrowing that down. And I believe, I don't know if they've got the final numbers released or not, but I know that it was one of the more successful Hot Shows that has been put on at this event
let me tell you what,
a number of years.
So Josh Jasinski and I are sitting on the end on the far left side. And we got the far left side. The trade is going on, or Lynn Leach and everybody, they're on the right side. We do have people coming over. And right next to me, and I'm not going to mention the name of who, but it was a paddle that was putting up some numbers, and I was like, good night. Who are you? You guys have some really good sales going on, because they were plenishing. They were filling the shelves back home pretty deep. But I just saw some good numbers going up, and it was nice to see, with everything that's going on with the economy right now and a lot of things that people are worried about. I think I've heard it from so many people say that rent-to-own can flourish in these times. And I think just looking at the Hot Show is one of those, yeah, I think it can. I think it can succeed. These guys are doing very, very well. And I think they have a good outlook for the fourth quarter, which is very nice to hear, because right now there's so much uncertainty out there. I know a lot of our employees back home want to make sure that everything's okay with the business, with the industry as a total, and making sure that we're solvent, for the next several years. And I'm telling you right now, from the purchases I saw, I don't think we're going anywhere. They did some amazing jobs there. So then the next day is actually the show. So we actually have the trade show start on Wednesday. So you guys got to understand, Sunday's golfing, Monday is checking in. Tuesday is all the educational classes and everything that we want to learn, and teaching or learning either way. Because I'm going to tell you right now, even when you're standing in front, you also learn from interactive crowds, because these crowds are rent-to-own crowds. This is a rent-to-own industry. We're not quiet. If you're saying something that somebody wants to talk about or they want to interject, it's so amazing to get the feedback and then discuss that in a forum in front of people who are like-minded and really have rent-to-own on their mind and the best of it. And it's so great to see. So then Wednesday comes along. We got the exhibitor setup, and then so right after breakfast, everybody goes. Except this time, we had a ribbon cutting event. Do we always have a ribbon cutting event?
So I think that's when it was started a few years ago. So we had a keynote speaker that morning. We did the State Association Awards, and then with Pam Nimick did the keynote that morning on brand culture. And then after that, I think I had the honor and the duty to dismiss everyone and then try to run out of that room as fast as I could to get downstairs to do the ribbon cutting. So it's just kind of a neat, unique thing. Mike Tissot brought an extremely large pair of scissors with him this year to do that ribbon cutting.
I saw.
So it was kind of a neat thing. We do RTO World, we do this in partnership with Trib Group, and really to have like the four of us with myself and with Dennis Shields from Trib, and then Mike Tissot is their president, and then our board president, Michael Bennett, just having the four of us be able to cut the ribbon and, officially get the trade show portion of it open. It was a pretty neat, unique thing to do.
Now, Pam Nimick herself is a CEO. She's considered one of the best in the industry to talk about some of the things you talk about, like workplace culture and just making sure that everybody's on board with everything that you're doing, including looking forward to the future. That was also a great speech. Then we get into the trade show. We go into the hall. Somewhere in there's a million different people looking at you from a million different. How many vendors did we have this year?
So we had, I think the final number was 109 exhibitors. And so we had, it was a full space. And that unique view, I think was just really, I wasn't sure how I was going to look on kind of looking at it on paper about how that coming in from that elevated portion, but coming down those escalators and seeing that whole room just full of people and full of booths and our brightly colored backdrops and carpet. And, it was a really just a very cool experience coming down that escalator into that hall.
For anybody who doesn't know, the San Antonio, the convention center is amazingly huge. It's like a city by itself. And so although we were right across the street, you enter that place, you had to walk, 1,000 yards at least to get to the back end. And so it's huge. And so as you're coming into the exhibit hall, you're coming in on I almost want to say the third floor, but you're coming in, and as you come to the ledge, you don't see it. You'd actually have to look over the ledge, over that balcony, to see the entirety of the trade show beneath you, which was an amazing sight. It's something that I've never seen at any of them, because nobody ever really has that elevated look. So you actually got to stand there on the rails and take in the entirety of the trade show, all the way from the back where you can sit down and have lunch to the big sections that Ashley had. I think VersaRent had a big spot. All the vendors are just laid out, and you can really kind of get a good look at it. APRO gives you this map, and then they go down the escalators, and when you get down to the bottom, it's nothing but buying goodness. You get down there, and you get to really talk to the vendors and get in with the product that they have. And it was just an amazing show as far as being able to look down on it and then be a part of it, and then almost kind of look back on it on the way out. And just, I know I saw so many people from up top taking pictures of it, because it was a very unique part of the event that you actually get to see the entirety of it. Because usually when you're in it, you just don't realize how big it is. When you go from wall to wall, you've got these rows of different people who have got the best things for rent to own, but you just don't see it until you get to the top of this. Like you said, the top of that escalator was like, it's a sight to behold. That was something nice. And then comes the ice cream. Whose idea was the ice cream? Did we always have an ice cream break?
I'm sure there's a history on ice cream in RTO somewhere, and maybe someone can write an article about it someday, because it seems like that the ice cream is just kind of, it's ice cream o'clock at that middle of the afternoon on that first day. And so it's just one of those things that is just part of an RTO trade show that I think that has been going on for a number of years. And so it was a neat thing. It's always good. That's a sponsored thing. I think Crossley and VersaRent were our sponsors this year. And it's just a kind of a neat afternoon break before the bar opens a little bit later to as you're down there on the exhibit hall. And, the more that we can keep people down in that space, the better. And that's, better for our dealers and our vendors that are there, and, to be able to have everyone down there. So it's just a nice thing that we were able to do, and I'm sure we'll keep on doing.
That's it, guys.
Future shows.
The secret is out. Charles is saying, and they hit you at 4:35. It's time, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Open up the purses, buy some more product. This is how you do it. That's awesome. So right after that, before the San Antonio Experience Party, which we'll get to in a second, there's actually the Emerging Professionals event. That's something that I wanted to talk to you about. So the Emerging Professionals event is a little bit different than all professionals, emerging professionals. Can you shed some light on what that's about?
So that's something that I think that is actually part of our current strategic plan of trying to reposition that or rebrand it. I mean, I know that a couple of years ago, I was kind of standing on the outside of that looking in whenever it was called the Young Professionals. And I had someone from APRO kind of like motion me to come in. I'm like, I can't, I'm over 40. I'm not a young professional anymore. And so I think that part of that was really a bit of a rebrand. It really, what we try to do with that is just provide a space that's a little bit more intimate, just smaller than the trade show floor or just some of the more crowded, busier spaces around the experience party and things, where that people that are new to the industry that are coming in can kind of come into a space with established leaders and experienced professionals that are in the industry. Our APRO board, we had a number of our APRO board members that were at the event this year. Nationwide Primetime was our sponsor. We had it at the Hotel Contessa that was just right across the river from the Briscoe, where we did the experience party, and just a way we grab a few drinks, get some face time with the people that and a lot of the people that were doing these presentations, the previous day in those education sessions. So that's something we're going to continue to try to improve and get the word out, because it's a part of what that our mission at APRO is really developing tomorrow's leaders of the industry and of the association. And our new board members are the people that will be doing these sessions one day. And this is just one of those ways that we try to be inclusive and to help with that development.
So the idea is to take some of the new minds that we have coming into rent-to-own and pair them up with some of the minds that have already been there, and kind of give them a feeling of where they can go and what direction to go into and how to be in their shoes?
That's exactly it. Really just to kind of help them make those connections, to have that face time, that it might not be a little bit more difficult, in the busier parts of the convention. And so it's a little bit of a work in progress, and it's something that we're, like I said, part of a strategic plan and really part of that whole leadership development aspect. And so I think there's a lot to come with that going forward. But this year we had a really nice reception before the experience party, and had a lot of people come over and participate in it. And so something I expect will continue to be a major part of RTO World going forward.
That sounds great. So, and now a word from our sponsor. Vox Pop Uli is the best graphics production agency in rent-to-own, offering turnkey service from design production through fulfillment. They offer printing and production, catalogs, and a ton of creative services. Andrew and Siji Hadjic have the knowledge and experience of working with rent-to-own for years, and they make it easy to get your brand recognized and utilized. You can contact them at 770-476-5112 or visit them online at vox-pop-uli.com. And now, back to the show. After we have all of our experiences done, we've gone a little bit of shopping, we've had our ice cream, we've been talked to, now it's time to be serenaded. The San Antonio Experience Party at the Briscoe Western Art Museum, which was, if you guys didn't know anything about San Antonio, was right across a bridge, a little bit down the street. Go in there, enjoy some good food, have some good drinks. Whose idea was it to teach the line dancing?
So it wasn't mine. I can say that. I conveniently hid inside whenever that came up, despite my staff's promises otherwise.
I was going to say, I did see you out there. I was out there. Okay. I just want you to know the RTO show is representing the RTO industry by making an absolute fool of myself trying to learn these dances. I mean, the instructor was absolutely amazing. She did a great job, and she did a great job instructing. But the heat And the fact that I had was slightly inebriated did not help the fact at all. But I did try to go out there and make it good use of the free instruction that I got. And I think I somewhat learned Cotton Eye Joe. I don't know if I learned it well, but I did learn it. So we were looking for you. I don't remember seeing you out there, but we were looking for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to go inside and be in the air conditioning for a bit, and
needed a lot more liquid courage.
Speak to some people that I'm not going to call you out, but I did have a conversation with you. You're supposed to be calling me about joining APRO. You know who you are.
There you go. You heard it first on the RTO show. We know who you are. So we go in there, and it was amazing because you can not only do you get to enjoy some food and kind of just meet up with everybody. There was the outside space where everybody was gathered. Unfortunately, it was a little bit hot, but you know what? Everybody made the most of it. They did have fans outside. Everybody's out there. They had some music. There was some dancing. But then you can also actually go into parts of the museum and see some of the history that made up the Alamo and some of the history that made up San Antonio. Absolutely amazing displays, which was great to see. So then, after that, everybody kind of does their thing. We will not talk about the San Antonio nightlife on this episode with Charles, but we will talk about that later. And then here comes Thursday. Now, Thursday is a half a day where you kind of wrap things up and you get, you kind of finish with your orders. You kind of get your ordering done. You talk to your vendors, you get everything set up. What's the idea behind the half a day versus another full day or, anything different?
Well, I think there are a number of things on that day. One of the important things we do before the show opens back up is we have our APRO Vendor Advisory Committee meeting, and our Vendor Advisory Committee is as it said, it's made up of our vendors that are chosen and elected to be on that. And really, this is kind of a way that we get a lot of feedback from them as to their experience the previous few days in terms of setup, in terms of how the show has gone, and a lot of those things that really kind of help, really shape and influence what we do in the following years and things that we need to troubleshoot and look out for and do better and know we've done well and that kind of thing. And so, part of it really is it is a half day. Trib gives out some of their rebates to help go and spend some more money that day. It's we ask a lot of our vendors to, this being one of many trade shows that they travel to throughout the year. And so it's really kind of giving them more time, more face time with dealers that are buying product, that ability. We ask a lot of them to come in and, some of these guys have just, massive amount of stock that they bring in, and that's a pretty big expense to come in and set up all of those living room suites and bedrooms and mattresses and electronics and everything else that goes with it. So it's really just about getting a few more hours in. And it's also the Wednesday tends to be very busy at times, and there are points that I know that I spent basically that entire day and a half walking around talking to vendors and just seeing people, thanking them for coming and talking to them about their experiences at the show. And some of these guys, they were slammed from the time it opened until the time they got closed out the day before. And so that day's a day where it's a little bit the foot traffic might not be as high as it is the day before, but there are all the vendors are still down there working. And so for a lot of the ones that were really busy, it's a good time to go down there and catch them. Might not be able to do it the day before. And so really kind of offering that space and opportunity for them to finish up and get their orders in, and, the Trib rebate money getting distributed out. And, that type of thing really kind of goes into that whole idea of why that we don't just do a one day, one and done type of show.
Now, talking about closing up the second day, I had an opportunity to talk to Richard Formo because he was absolutely busy. Now, we're talking about Richard Formo, the CEO and co-founder of RTO2, working with Paidit, and they were one of the titanium sponsors. We had Ashley as a titanium sponsor and Paidit as this year's new titanium sponsor. How did they do? How was that? I just want you to know, Charles, I was speaking at the same time that Paidit did their thing, and I missed it because of that. I'm just telling you right now, I was so like, oh, man. But so I didn't get to see it firsthand. Were you there? Did you get to see it? And how well did that go over with the RTO industry, being that it is a brand new automated collection platform that's going to really kind of be a big to-do in rent-to-own.
Well, I mean, they were, so I did not get to sit in on their session either. I had my own and then a few other ones I had to needed to sit in on to observe, and then tried to get around to the others. But Richard's group was definitely one of those that when I tried to go by and say hello on Wednesday, that there was not even a break in the space to be able to, poke my head into their booth, because they were pretty much slammed from time it up until the time it was able to close. So I think that they definitely got the word out and were able to speak to a lot of people and really kind of show and demo their product. So, Richard's on my list to call, but I wanted to give him a couple weeks to work through all of his leads and close all of his contracts that I'm sure he was able to get signed up that 2 weeks ago when we were there.
Well, I can tell you he's busy. I've been trying to get a hold of him, and we've been communicating. So it's not like we're not communicating, but getting an actual hold of him is hard, because I know that they were extremely busy. As far as I'm concerned. Now, I don't see everything, so that's why I was asking if it seemed like they had the reach that they wanted to going into the RTO World Convention. Did they happen to get what they were trying to get out of it? And I think they did. I'm going to talk to them about that. But being that it was such an important part of the show, certain parts of it, and I would never say nothing is not as important as others, but this was something I think that's revolutionary, that's going to really start popping up in rent-to-own companies all over the United States, and God knows how far the reach can go, because I know that the U.S. isn't the only place that has rent-to-own, and we have in Guam and South America and some of our islands. So it's something that can really kind of have a really big outreach, and I think it's going to be good for the industry. I just want to see how it went and what it looked like. Talking about how it went, how does APRO measure the success of an RTO World event?
So we've got a few, I like the data points. We've got a few metrics that we're able to look at. We could do comparisons to previous years. The big ones, really kind of looking at attendance. I think our final number was like 748 attendees, 109 exhibitors. So this was up there, if not the most attended. I believe it might have been the highest attended RTO World that we've had in terms of since we've been doing RTO World for the past few years. Looking at our sponsor list, where you would get 2 titanium sponsors with Ashley and Paidit, platinum with Crossley. Having the support of our sponsors and having that list where we had 38 sponsors this year. That's one. We could kind of look at those data points. Just kind of my informal kind of speaking to people and getting their feel. There seemed to just be such an overwhelmingly positive feel to the show to me. And, a lot of people I spoke to with a lot of the dealers, the consensus was that they had spent more money than they had intended to. And that kind of goes back to your comments about the state of the economy, the uncertainty, kind of where things stand. And, we can bring a trade show that has new products, new ideas like Paidit, just some really cool, unique items that might work in this industry. And that's really what we try to do with APRO, with the trade show, with RTO World, is this, you don't have to be a Trib member to show at RTO World. And this is a way, if you want to get your foot in, test the waters, get your foot in the door, see if your product works for the RTO industry, that's the place to do it. And there seemed to be there was a lot of that there this time, and a lot of interest in it from the, kind of the spin that the dealers were putting out there. So, those are kind of our, kind of the way we look at it. Whenever, I'll tell you, I've had a lot of feedback of just how much people love San Antonio, and that's always when you try somewhere a little bit different, someone that rather than going to the same place every year, there's always an idea to vary it up, to give people the opportunity to go see somewhere different, try something different. We've had a lot of feedback of how, just positive about San Antonio with that convention center, with the hotels, the experience party, those things that, that it may be back on our horizon one day in somewhere down the road. It was a place we'd look at revisiting. So, there are a number of those things that we kind of look at. And I can tell you really one of the important ones is really our vendor advisory committee meeting, that kind of sitting down, we're doing kind of it's not quite a halftime assessment, but it's really almost a third quarter assessment of how things are going, how things went the day before. And that was just such an overwhelmingly positive meeting where there were just lots of, the term great was thrown around a lot. The app was great. The number of these things that were there that were being provided for were described as great. So we kind of look at those things and really to see what we did. And then we'll look at the survey data too. And really, to me, it's important to do the things right, but it's also the important things to learn and to do it better next time. So as we kind of get ready, as I said, we're already hitting the ground running on planning RTO World 2024 in Orlando and trying to account for these things and do things better and get better every time we do this. That's the goal, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I would agree. I think San Antonio was a great choice for this year's convention. Now that it is in Orlando for 2024, how does APRO going about choosing these venues for these RTO World events?
So we've got an evolving RFP process. We look at what what we needed. We've got kind of a footprint requirement. We've got a hotel, number of rooms that we need each night. We've got kind of we don't do, I've heard, why don't we do Vegas? Well, we'd like to do Vegas, but Vegas was going to put our hotel pricing is going to, be a good 50% higher than, and that puts us out of range for, to hit and involve as many people as we can. So there are a number of things that kind of go into that where we're trying to be at this kind of sweet spot with, convenient access from the hotels, enough rooms to accommodate the number of people we have coming, with a convention space that fits our needs for both our trade show and, all of our education sessions, the ballrooms for our general meetings, the hot show, these type of things. So we're kind of looking at a lot of those things, and, really location's important. We don't want to be somewhere that's out really remote, hard for people to get to, and expensive to get to as well.
Yeah, close to the airport, right?
That's it. We need to be close to a good airport. Hopefully that if it's not a direct flight for the majority of people, it at least be no more than one connection through a major airport. So, it's kind of there's I'm not sure what the secret is, but there's certainly a number of balancing things that go into finding the right location. And we're planning, we're in the middle of our RFP process for 2025. We'll be selecting 2026 pretty quickly thereafter. So we're going to try to get a little bit ahead of the curve because the demand for convention space has just spiked over the past couple of years, where it's, used to, you could plan out, really 2 years in advance. And now it's, to be competitive, you got to be out there a little bit further ahead. So, a number of those things kind of going in it. We're, and then a lot of the feedback of what worked well and what we'd be kind of looking for in the future comes into that as well. So, number of factors, and we try to do it for places that people will maybe somewhat unique, something different. Maybe San Antonio wasn't really a place that's high on my list to go take a vacation to, but it's a great place to go for a convention.
I agree.
So,
I agree. So approximately, is it just one main event that happens from APRO a year, or is there more?
Well, so for our main meeting and convention is RTO World, but probably the most important event, I would say, is our legislative conference. We are in the process of setting the dates for that, which I'm looking at probably either the third or fourth week of April this year in Washington, D.C. So we'll be, save the dates will be forthcoming on that very soon. As we kind of get ready and prepare for that. We do a number of other things throughout the year. I can tell you kind of as just a follow-up to our conversation about RTO World 2023, we're going to be doing a webinar in October that will be the best of RTO World. Part of what we're doing with kind of looking at our surveys of, which were the best sessions, which were the ones that, with the most positive feedback, we're going to be combining all of those into a webinar that we'll do on October 10th. And so there'll be more news about that coming out in the next probably the next few days as we're starting to put that together. So maybe you were at RTO World and you couldn't make it to all the sessions because we had so many going on at the same time and you had to prioritize one over the other. Well, this may be a way that you get to hear about or from a presenter that you didn't, or maybe you weren't able to attend this year. Well, this is a way you can kind of get in about an hour's time, a really good digest version of a number of these good sessions. So that'll be forthcoming. I'm looking at, we're going to be doing, a lot more webinars for our membership over the coming months. And then, really getting ready for RTO World 2024.
It almost seems like it's already around the corner, right? You already, 2023 is gone and you're like, wow, I've already got a plan for this special event. It did seem that big. I mean, there was a lot of great vendors there. And I know that when I talked to them, I had some good feedback. But again, I don't have all the metrics and all the data that you guys have. So when I talk to vendors, I go by what they say. And I want to say that some of the people that I actually talked to about the convention itself, the trade show, what happened and what they got out of it as far as the vendor side, New Generations or, the guys, Robbie Tyson, Kevin Sobers, again, they did a great job. It looked like Kevin Gaughan and Fred Sauerbeck of Ashley Furniture actually were really, really busy. I talked to Brandon Jin of Living Essentials. They had a lot going on. Dennis and Brian Rosen now, and isn't Brian part of the board now?
So yeah, Brian is one of our new vendor advisory committee members.
Nice.
Just elected. So
I talked to Rusty Nix at Almo, Next Level, Felix at O'Rourke, Gidget at Twin Star. I had to put myself on a waiting list just to speak with her. Rob at FSG. When it came down to get everything done, I think he was tackled from the hot show sale by that he had going on. Keith and Lewis at Dialectic, always taking care of us, but they were busy. Matter of fact, I just talked to Keith a couple of days ago, and he was telling me that he's still processing some of the orders from RTO World. So to me, that means that it's doing pretty good. And then Cindy Hadjic from Vox, I know she was busy and everything going on. We've got to talk to her, especially with what is going on with us. But just so that everybody knows, and I know you're going to know from the beginning of this podcast, but you're going to hear it now too, APRO is now the official prime sponsor for the RTO show. It's couldn't be something that we're more proud of. We're glad that we can put that up, and we're glad that we're going to be able to put that some of the shirts and kind of share that with everybody, because the partnerships is what this is all about. Not only is it about education, it's about learning, it's about getting the best product out to your people, and the partnerships, the relationships that you're going to generate when you're there talking to people and the networking and finding out who does what and who does it well and bringing that out to your customers in the RTO industry. It's an amazing thing that we get to do from RTO World. We're so happy that you guys actually put that on every single year. I can't wait to see what's going on with the legislative conference and who's going to go, because I would like to be a part of that. The RTO show would like to represent the RTO industry in that way and kind of sit in and see what goes on and be a part of that for everything that we have going on, whether it be the customer side of it or whether it be the employee side of it or whether it be the owner side of it. It's important to us all, especially when APRO is involved with it, especially when everybody can see the importance of what we do and how much we give back to the community. And we want to keep that going for each and every one of you who are in the RTO industry. So that is the rundown of events that happen in RTO World. There wasn't really a moment where anybody wasn't doing anything. It seemed like it was busy from the opening bell, or I should say the cutting ribbon, to the end of it when we had, and we want to talk about it, you and Dennis had some activities at the end. Am I right?
The first, and maybe last, I don't know, we'll see, executive challenge. So, and I say that because I'm still a little bit, I don't know what happened on scorekeeping, but so yeah, that was just one of those, it was always trying to build a little bit of excitement or do something a little bit different that last day. And so Dennis and I kind of got together and our staffs got together and came up with the idea that we would kind of do 5 silly skill-esque type games around the convention floor. And it was all fun and games until we had to do the hot sauce shot at the end. But,
well, I can tell you right now, San Antonio is nothing short on hot sauce. You probably had a plethora of different sauces that you can choose from. I commend you for even doing the shot. I would tell you that's amazing. But it was so nice to see that. But I just want you guys to know, before we leave, they actually enticed everybody for that Thursday by giving away money in the socks. Do we know who won the money?
I do not, and I think that if you picked up your socks and you haven't opened them yet, there's still a chance. I think there was a lot of cash that was stuck down in those, so there's still maybe some floating out there in some of those unopened packages if you got home and left them in a suitcase or forgot about them. So that was just those socks came out really, really well, and kind of one of those things that with the RTO World logo on it that will be probably a collector's item as we go forward. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a collector's item. If you're not following the RTO show on Facebook or Instagram, there was a post of the RTO show wearing the socks that I did not win any money in. I did try, but I did not win. So I wasn't the winner of that. But it was so nice to have a takeaway. There was a lot of different vendors. There was a lot of different speakers. There was a lot of different keynote speakers and a lot of different visions that came out of this. And I don't know anybody who didn't have something of a takeaway as far as a tidbit of information or brand new ideas or brand new products as far as some of the things that the vendors had, including the automated collections platform that came from Paidit. Some of the great things that came out of this hopefully will transition to Orlando 2024. We can't wait for that. We're so happy that you had some time to make it on the show because I know that you're really busy kind of locking the doors and finishing up everything after, the RTO World 2023, going into the long hibernation before 2024 of a whole couple months because I'm sure you're going to be right back at it. And then the legislative conference. Guys, stick to the RTO show. We will let you know what's going on. Also, if you have any questions, you can talk to Charles or anybody else by sending anything that you guys want to talk about to Pete at the RTO Show podcast. You can email me and I will make sure it gets over. And then maybe we have going back and forth and we answer some questions and some comments that you guys have. If you want to see us, you can also see us at www.thertoshowpodcast.com, again, which is sponsored by APRO. If you want to see what's going on at APRO and their calendar events, go to rtohq.com. Charles, we're so appreciative of you taking out the time and talking to us about Hello San Antonio. And if you guys need anything, you let us know over here at the RTO Show, and we will make it happen.
Well, I appreciate you asking me back on and getting to revisit and rethink about that great week we had in San Antonio, and look forward to doing this all over again not too far down the road in Orlando.
We're going to have Orlando. We're going to have Hello Orlando. That is my stomping grounds. I just want you to know it is very close to home, so it's going to be very, very fun. And let you guys know that Florida is a host of a lot of different things, but if we're going to do it in Orlando, there is Disney. And the reason I mention Disney is not because Disney is a great place, but it's because Orlando is built on bringing people in and sending them out. So if you're going to do it in Orlando, there's going to be a lot of things to do. There's going to be a lot of choices of activity going into Orlando. So the airport is amazing. They'll get you in, they'll get you out. There's a lot to do around there. And I expect there's going to be just as much in a learning area. So if you guys have any questions, please hit us up. Again, Pete at the RTOshowpodcast.com. Like and subscribe on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts so that you don't miss a show. Thank you so much, Charles, for being on, and we'll talk to you in the next one.
All right. Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
And that is Charles Smitherman, the CEO of APRO, giving us an understanding of what goes on in the RTO World events, how much goes into it, how much thought process goes behind it, and how much they are interested in making this one of the best events of the year. We are so appreciative that you guys stop by and give us a listen. Please like and subscribe. And as always, the RTO Show is proud to be sponsored by the Association of Progressive Rental Organizations. APRO is consistently participating, educating, and watching candidly over the RTO industry and has been doing so since 1980. Keep track of the current and future events, meetings, and legislative gatherings by going to the website at rtohq.com. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to the RTO HQ magazine and newsletter. Also, if you're not a member, find out how to become one online at rtohq.com. We are so appreciative that you guys stop by and give us a listen. Please like and subscribe. And always remember, keep your collections low so you can get your sales high. Thank you so much. We'll catch you in the next one.